Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're just going to skip the usual intro and jump right into something that's honestly deeply personal for a lot of us. Look around, or, well, maybe just look inward. We are living in an era where an unprecedented number of people are completely exhausted by the worldly blows they face every single day. We see people who are overwhelmed by disappointment, who desperately crave inner peace, but just can't seem to find it anywhere. It's a modern epidemic of burnout and worldly exhaustion, and it's basically dragging us down under the heavy weight of our own unfulfilled aspirations.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you actually ever stopped and asked yourself why this happens? Why is it that, even though we're constantly chasing success, acquiring new things, and upgrading our lifestyles, we still feel entirely trapped by anxiety and disappointment? We're running faster and faster on the treadmill of life, yet the destination of true contentment just seems to slip further and further away.
The source text paints this really startling, honestly kind of haunting picture of our modern condition. It describes a person completely bound by the chains of misfortune, wearing this perpetually worried face with restless, searching eyes. This person is essentially being dragged toward the end of their life, pulled along by completely unfulfilled desires. It's an incredibly heavy image, right? But it resonates so deeply with the modern rat race. We are just utterly exhausted by the world.
Section 1. The Science of Sin and Virtue. Why bad choices look so good.
So, what is the root cause of all this relentless exhaustion? Well, let's look at how nature brilliantly, and frankly sometimes dangerously, disguises things. The source text points out a really fascinating paradox in the design of the world. Think about the elements of sin. Bad choices, toxic desires, they're intentionally designed to be incredibly flashy. They're bright, golden, and super attractive right off the bat. But if you get too close, they burn you like a raging fire. Now on the flip side, virtue and goodness, totally different story. They're characterized by this profound simplicity. They're plain, ordinary looking, with almost zero outward flashy attraction, but they're entirely safe. The real tragedy here is that we, like naive little kids drawn to shiny toys, run straight for the burning elements of sin, completely ignoring the safe, unadorned ground of virtue.
But here's the crucial part. Why is it designed like this? The source argues this is actually a stroke of divine brilliance. Think about it. If bad choices, if unchecked greed didn't inherently possess a self-destructive force, like if they didn't naturally burn the person holding them, the world would literally descend into absolute chaos. We'd basically become an arena of violent beasts endlessly fighting and hoarding everything in sight. By making these toxic desires naturally self-destructive, unchecked greed is actually kept from completely destroying the fabric of the world. Crazy, right? Okay, so now that we get the outer disguise of these desires, let's look inward. Let's uncover the psychological science behind our toxic, selfish thoughts and see exactly how they agitate us from the inside out.
Section 2. The acid of negative thoughts. The law of mental attraction.
The source breaks this down into this sequential law of attraction for the mind. Step 1. A single dark thought enters your head. Maybe it's revenge, deceit, or just intense selfishness. Step 2. Thoughts have this magnetic, gravitational pull. So that one dark thought starts pulling similar destructive thoughts from your environment and from your subconscious. It gathers mass. And then step 3. They multiply, rapidly. What starts as a simple desire to see someone fail transforms into this massive storm of negativity that ends up creating intense fear, anxiety, and terror, primarily in you, the thinker. You basically become a prisoner of the very thoughts you invited in.
Now, what's really interesting about this next part is the incredibly powerful metaphor the text uses. It compares these toxic, selfish emotions to a highly corrosive acid. It says, this acid, before it falls on another to destroy them, will first melt the tin can in which it is kept. Just let that sink in. When you harbor hatred, anger, or deceit towards someone else, you are the tin can. You're internalizing a corrosive substance that's actively destroying your own mind and body long before it ever even reaches your intended target.
To really hammer this self-destructive nature home, the text gives us two more really vivid comparisons. First, imagine trying to hurt someone by throwing a red-hot iron ball at them. I mean, it's physically impossible to do that without severely burning your own hand first, right? Or think about planting thorny acacia seeds in your front yard, hoping your enemies will step on them. In reality, those thorns are just going to prick your own feet every time you walk out your door. You simply cannot harbor bad intentions without causing yourself the most harm, period. But, this self-destruction isn't just about wishing harm on others, it's also about what we desperately wish for ourselves. So let's shift focus to the frantic pace of the modern rat race and this never-ending cycle of materialistic wants.
Section 3. The endless thirst of I want. The trap of material desire.
Just think about this constant internal monologue. I want a motor car. I want a bigger house. I want more jewelry. I want a high post. I want fame. I want people to serve me. More, more, more. When we're constantly chanting this in our heads, it joins this giant swirling cloud of universal want out there and becomes an overwhelmingly aggressive force in our lives. Actually, scratch that. Let's just pause for a second. Just hearing that list feels completely exhausting, doesn't it? Is your throat dry from constantly shouting, "I want" inside your own head?
To visually represent this agonizing state of mind, the source text introduces a beautiful but honestly pretty tragic cultural metaphor, the chatak bird. Legend has it, the chatak bird is a creature that only drinks rain directly as it falls from the sky. Because of this incredibly narrow, specific desire, it remains eternally thirsty. It's frantically crying out for water every single moment, even while all the other creatures of the world have quenched their thirst and are just sleeping peacefully. When we get trapped by unending worldly thirst, we basically become the chatak bird.
And the psychological conditioning of this is severe. The text explains it like this. The ground where a fire has burned stays scorching hot deep beneath the surface, long after the visible flames are totally gone. In the exact same way, constantly chanting, "I want," conditions your mind to feel permanently parched. It literally rewires your brain. You'll find yourself feeling desperately thirsty, desperately unfulfilled, even when your stomach is completely full of water, even when you have everything you actually need. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why we need a way out. We just can't survive in a permanent state of burning desire. So let's transition to the solution phase and look at how we can finally escape this cycle of exhaustion by finding genuine inner peace.
Section 4. The Power of a Noble Purpose. Finding Genuine Inner Peace.
The antidote to this acid of desire is pretty profound. While toxic, selfish desires are hot, they're burning, and they inevitably bring fear and this crushing exhaustion, the emotions of altruism, love, and holding a noble purpose, they are fundamentally different. They are cooling. They are deeply strengthening. They replace that anxious fear of what if I lose my stuff with the profound courage of what can I give back to the world.
When you elevate your life to focus on a high, noble purpose, your entire perspective totally shifts. Hardships no longer look like these random, cruel punishments. Instead, failures look like God or the universe, testing your courage and refining your character. When the darkness of uncertainty surrounds you, holding on to a noble purpose provides this steadfast inner light. It's like a divine hum, an internal compass that guides you calmly along your path, completely untouched by the chaotic noise of worldly desires.
Let's move to and see how this builds to one of the most stunning historical contrasts presented in the text. Think about Jesus, crucified, literally crowned with agonizing thorns, seemingly totally defeated in the eyes of the physical world. Yet internally, historically, spiritually, he's victorious and smiling. Now, contrast that with Alexander the Great, a man who successfully conquered the known world. He possessed all the shiny golden things. Yet history tells us he died crying, holding his empty hands out to show he could take absolutely none of it with him. The conqueror wept, while the crucified man smiled.
The absolute defining difference between those two outcomes wasn't what they possessed. Not at all. It was the height of their purpose. One served humanity and a higher calling. The other served his own endless I want. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to carry with you. To heal your modern burnout, to finally extinguish the acid of unending desire, you have to elevate your aim. The difference is purpose. What is yours?